Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. So, the United States of America is done funding Ukraine. It does not mean that Ukraine will not be funded by someone else. That's the first point in this video. The Vice President of the United States of America, J.D. Vance, comes and says, US is done. Yeah. Why? Because these guys prepared the whole scheme in such a way that thankfully we do not have to pay that much, but other people will make the profits. So that's the first topic. So we're done funding Ukraine. The second one, I will show you who's going to be funding Ukraine and how these guys constructed the scheme of funding Ukraine. It is like having someone else pick up the, hot potatoes from the charcoal over there, from the fire. So you just wait, they do it because you made them do it. And that is the Russian receipts and the Europeans. We find out that the Europeans are very upset that they tend to or fear being a footnote in history. Why? Because Putin and Trump means. Well, first, whose fault that is? Whose fault? The mass media right now will cover for the failed politicians, the garbage politician, in Europe in this case, who maneuvered Europe in such a way that it became weaker and weaker and obviously weaker. Even the baboons busy eating each other's fleas could notice how weak European Union is. And who made that happen? Well, you can say, well, the Americans, or no, they allowed it. They, the guys in charge of the European Union. And we find out now something that we've known for the get-go. Europe lacks troops and strength to secure Ukraine peace or enforce ceasefire. I thought they have the coalition of the willing. Remember that, collective jerk-off? You remember that one? Oh my God, we are over there, man. We're doing it. We are going to bring troops over there. Yes, we promise. They lack it. I said it from the very beginning. They will not. Not only because they could not send troops. They will be afraid the Russians will smack them. Why? Because they're weak. And let me start with this video that I made on, I think it was June 20th, 21st, 22nd, when the Americans bombed, where is it, the date? June 21st. So this is when these big dudes right here, they showed up in front of the nation, the American nation, and they declared that they attacked Iran. Remember? So in this video, because I played a little video with a statement and so on, I would like you to go and watch this guy's facial expression while Trump is talking. Aside from this guy is already peed on himself. This guy tries to keep his composure, but this guy definitely shows disapproval. So this is not in the same team with these three. This is a follower, this is, I don't know yet, and this, we know who he is. But this guy, it seems like they do not have the same ideas about how to proceed in certain areas. Therefore, Russia Today, the 10th of August 2025, United States of America is quote-unquote done funding Ukraine, according to Vice President Vance. Western Europe countries can step up and buy American weapons for Kiev if they want. You see? That's it. And this is what he said. Ukraine's European backers can buy weapons from American producers, that is private arms manufacturing companies, if they want to continue supporting Kiev, and the US will be okay with that. Oh, how couldn't they? The military-industrial complex, anybody? Vance said, and I'm quoting, but we're not going to fund it ourselves anymore. Oh, really? Why is that? But how could the Europeans do that? They don't have money. Well, that's why they're banks. That's why they're banks. Didn't I say for 1,000 years already? There are three pillars of profiteers in Ukraine. And I always mentioned international banking system. That's the first one. You need money to because the companies have no profits in order to put them back into their production to expand. So you need banks. Nowadays we're at the whim of the banks. The second one, military-industrial complex. You will need weapons, right, to defend against the boogeyman or to fund Ukraine, and the fund with weapons, aid. And the third one is the energy industry. You can't build things without energy. You need energy, human energy and the natural resources energy, coal, electricity, oil. So these are the three big profiteers, the three pillars I call them. So how does the scheme work? I'm not done. The Ukrainians need weapons and they need support. They need financial money and they need weapons. How do they do that? Well, first you need money. Money. Who's going to give them money? These guys cannot come and tell you straight, oh, we're going to tax you more to give it to the Ukrainians. No, they do it through the back door. That's why I say these guys are, in a way, the guys in charge of us. Remember, the public servants, that's what they are. These guys are elected to do our job. We hire people to do our jobs. They're not our chiefs. They're not in charge of us. They're not our leaders. They're our employees. But we pay them more and they become millionaires after they're done with their terms. Very interesting. And we remain as poor as we are or we're not. So you need the banks who are going to give money. Second, who's going to build the weapons? Private companies. So Ukraine will get the money from banks, from loans from the countries that take the loans from international banking system. The Ukrainians will get the weapons from where? They will purchase, the Ukrainians or the Europeans, with the money that I already mentioned, the way they do it, from the private corporations, arms manufacturing companies, and then you need energy to build those weapons. Plus, you need to get rid of the competition in Europe in order to sell your product, your more expensive liquefied natural gas and oil to Europe. So you kick the Russians out by imposing sanctions, by telling the Europeans to impose sanctions on themselves. This is how the racket works. Part of it. All right, so Vance, when he says we're done funding, yes, because our arms manufacturing companies that donate for campaign donation, they're going to get their contracts, so they fed the guy. The banking system will have to step in, and the energy will do the same thing. Build the weapons with energy, no? Not only that, you don't need that much energy to build the weapons, but you're going to take over Europe because you kicked out Russia. So, of course, America is done. Next one. Vance, we're done with the funding of the Ukraine war business. Of course, you already got the scheme very nice arranged. The Independent Vance says US is done with funding Ukraine war ahead of Trump-Putin talks. Great. And then, ta-da! The Europeans don't even have money, but they will have to get the money how? Europe stealing, that is. Europe is not stealing, robbing, because stealing, as Putin said, these guys are not stealing from us our assets and their proceeds from their assets that they froze, they captured, because this is robbery. Stealing is something that you don't see. You don't see it. It's something unknown. They stole. Who the hell stole? You were not aware of, but we are aware. That is robbery. Well, the problem is, can you retaliate? Oh yeah, we retaliate. So this is another part of the scheme. The European Union allocate 1.5 billion euros, which is about $1.6 billion, in proceeds from from robbed, frozen Russian assets to cover Ukraine's loan payments. So the Europeans gave loans to Ukraine they cannot pay, but they use some other people's money to pay for them. You got it? But they are the good guys. Somehow the Europeans are the good guys. No, the Europeans are the robbers. Not robber men, but anyway. The European Union has received a third transfer of windfall revenues generated by frozen assets belonging to the Central Bank of Russia. They stole it. Not stole it, you know what I mean. This latest tranche amounts to 1.6 billion euros, of which 95% over 1.5 billion euros will be allocated to cover Ukraine's loan payments. Got it? Yeah, so they will get their money. They will get their money somehow. And remember, the Europeans got the loans in the name of Ukraine. From whom? So they're going to use the Russians to feed the international banking system. Why do you think it's so? Well, those guys in the banking system are part of a certain kind of group that were kicked out of Russia, and they want Russia back. Figure that out. And the last topic for this video is the obvious conclusion, and they made it, which is the Europeans. They made it appear so, I don't know how to, baboonish, let's put it this way, which is the Europeans will do this, but they're weak. And now they will avoid, they being the same guys supposedly in charge of us, the guys who write the script of all this garbage, who direct it. They're not going to pinpoint to the people who allowed this to happen, and here it is. CNN, Europeans fear being a footnote in history as Putin looks to strike deal with Trump. Yes, they don't fear. They allowed this to happen. They allowed this to happen. Not the first time European capitals are gripping with apprehension that Russian President Vladimir Putin will surgically drive the transatlantic alliance as well as get everything he wants in Ukraine. He's not going to get everything he wants, but I think most of it, like 98%, they will get. So the Europeans say, we are weak. We are not even invited. We're here just as old horse that nobody want to hire for a fuck. That's what they are. But they act as if they still have it. You know, I'm like, no, I'm still beautiful. Let me see. Yeah, okay. That's how the Europeans are. And they don't say who got you in this circumstance, in these situations. Who? You could have organized, you could have put together something. They didn't. Did the Americans have so much control over you? If they have so much control, it's also because of you. I want to see their names. I want to see them charged. No, charged. I want to see them obviously convicted if found guilty. And then, talk to. All right. So let's go to the last article. New Voice of Ukraine. And it's something that, again, I said it for 1,000 years already. Europe lacks troops and strength to secure Ukraine peace or enforce ceasefire. Weren't these baboons telling us about the coalition of the willing? We're going to do this to Putin and we're going to 50,000 strong and so on. I told you these guys are old horse. That's what they are. Not old horse like the ladies of the night. Europe's diplomatic effort over Ukraine are significant but risks being merely symbolic without military backing. That's why you are going to buy our weapons and you're going to become strong while getting loans from where's the loans, repayments? Who do they take the loans from? International banking system. They don't care about us. Don't get that illusion. I have loved ones who tell us, it's not we. We here and there over there. And they're run by interest. Financial, economic interest. That's what it is. That's why, unfortunately, brings democracy, the American democracy. And you can see it. It's not hard. You can see it. But hey, we have elections and we elect them. And then when they get over there, they do what? Remember, you elect the guy for something he tells you he will do for you, in your name. And then when he or she gets over there, he's doing whatever legally allows him to do, which he can make a lot of policies, he can make a lot of decisions with the guys that are elected in the same way in the Congress, don't get me wrong, if necessary, if they need, or the guys appointed and to see if the whatever law the Congress passed is constitutional. It's just, these are fed by the same interests, and those are not you or I. It's just a game. They let us think that we have a say. We're just confirming, without having the authority, confirming their choices. They bring two imbeciles, and we confirm them, validate their choice. That's what it is. We validate them, and I'm not even certain that that validation that we are supposed to bring every 4 years, it's a a validation. They can do whatever they want, and we go home and we fight with one another. I'm a Democrat, I'm a Republican, I'm all this independent, when actually we are the ones at the receiving end, and we've been like this for, I would say, more than 100 years. Thank you very much for being with me again today. It's definitely more than 100 years. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.